So each month, we have sitting among you our Rooster Booster Secret Shaker. And this morning, to no one's surprise, our Secret Shaker is the Kentucky Wesleyan Panther. Now, this is going to be a little strange because usually our Secret Shaker will tell us who they've chosen. So I guess in your case, Panther, just arch your back and hiss and point. So that's perfect. So who did you choose this morning?
Okay, he's signing it.
Okay, that's great. Josh, Cersei, where's Josh? Okay.
All right, Josh.
Come on up. We have something very special for you. We have hold on, there's more. Yeah. Hey, it's not 14 pounds of Tidy Cat. Give it back. And we also have 2 tickets, round-trip tickets from Owensboro to Orlando via Allegiant Air. What about it? Congratulations. At this time, we would like to welcome our folks who are listening to us on WOMI Owensboro 99.1 FM and 1490 AM. Thank you all for tuning in. All right, and now we're going to welcome our brand new chamber members this month. And we have several. This is exciting. So ABiz Construction, a full-service construction company that specializes in roofing, windows, siding, gutters, and kitchen and bath remodeling. ABiz has extensive experience in dealing with storm damage and the process of dealing with insurance claims. ABiz Construction, based out of Evansville, licensed in Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois. They're licensed in commercial, industrial, and residential construction. So please welcome Matt and Bailey from ABiz Roofing and Construction. Oh, go on ahead. Named after both of their grandfathers, the goal at Byron and Barclay was to design a store that was welcoming and comfortable while offering quality products. They have researched endlessly to find some of the most amazing brands and have hand-selected each item. From men's apparel, shoes, and accessories to industrial furnishings and home decor, their selections are constantly changing. Byron and Barclay is located at 121 East 2nd Street, Suite 100, so please welcome Jeremy and Jessica Woods from Byron and Barclay. Escape Today provides high-quality, challenging, and unique experiences for all ages through their 4 innovative escape rooms. The 4 scenarios aim to create fast-paced excitement and team-building experiences that provide memorable experiences for each participant. At Escape Today, they are focused on having fun and helping you have fun. So please welcome the folks from Escape Today. By the way, they're going to bolt you all in here. Good luck getting out before lunchtime. Howard Sign Company manufactures channel letters, lighted signs, monument signs, 3D dimensional signs, and fleet graphics. They produce sign packages for large developers, for retailers, and companies. They cut and install fleet graphics as well. So please welcome the Howard Sign Company of Owensboro. If you are looking for a great night out, call me, no kidding. Painting with a Twist is your answer. Invite your friends, sip your favorite beverage, and enjoy step-by-step instructions with their enthusiastic local artist. Leave with a one-of-a-kind creation and a newfound talent that you'll want to explore. You can book a private party with just an 8-person minimum. From birthday and bachelorette parties to date nights and team buildings, they can help you celebrate anything. So please welcome Mahir and Christina from Painting with a Twist. UPS, a global leader in logistics, offering a broad range of solutions including transporting packages and freight, facilitating international trade, and deploying advanced technology to more efficiently manage the world of business. Headquartered in Atlanta, UPS serves more than 220 countries and territories worldwide. Here in Owensboro, UPS is proud to serve your commercial and residential needs. So please welcome Tina, Michael, and Phil from UPS. At this time, we would like to recognize our elected officials who are with us at Rooster Booster this morning. Kentucky State Representative Tommy Thompson with us. Kentucky State Representative Suzanne Miles is here as well. City Commissioner Bob Glenn. Judge Executive Al Mattingly. County Commissioner Mike Koger. Also County Commissioner George Wathen. Judge Jeff S. Taylor. County Attorney Claude Porter. Davis County PVA Rachel Foster. And from Owensboro Public Schools, the board members, Dan Griffith. And from Davis County Public School Board, Diane Burns-Mackey. So a round of applause for all those fine folks. And if we missed you, so sorry, apologies. We try to get everybody. At this time, it is time to honor our Ambassador of the Month. And that ambassador is from First Security Bank, the one and only Chris Arnold. Chris was literally in every ribbon-cutting photo in the last 30 days, like front and center. And you're getting a $50 gift card from Colby's Wine and Spirits. Congratulations. One more time for Chris, everybody. At this time, we're going to introduce our breakfast sponsor, but truly he needs no introduction. So many of you all out there know him and work with him on a daily basis. But please welcome the president of Kentucky Wesleyan College, Bart Darrell.
Good morning. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to sponsor the Rooster Booster Breakfast, one of the great Owensboro, Davis County traditions. Before I make any remarks, I want to recognize a few people. First of all, some of my best friends in the world are my kids, my students, our students at Kentucky Wesleyan. I would like for our students who are here to stand, please, and be recognized. I love you guys. And I would also like to specifically thank the Advancement Office at Kentucky Wesleyan, all the folks that put this on today. So all my folks from the Advancement Office, would you please stand, led by Tom Keith. April, stand up. Thank you all very much. And finally, I'd like for all Wesleyan folks, if you're an alum or you work with us there at the college, please stand and be recognized. I appreciate all of you very much. I'm not going to stand up here and give you much statistics. That's really boring. I could tell you about some of the great people that have come through this school. You know a lot of them. I could stand up here and tell you that people like the executive producer of CNN came from Wesleyan, or that the vice president of Coca-Cola in Japan went to school with me, Lydia Dorman. Or I could tell you that we're one of two schools in the Commonwealth of Kentucky to produce the United States Supreme Court Justice. I could tell you that the former general manager of the San Diego Chargers graduated from Kentucky Wesleyan, but I'm not going to do that because that would sound like bragging, now wouldn't it? Just the facts, just the facts. For you folks in the business community, I want you to know that we know what you do. I can say that because I'm not just reading from some pamphlet. I lived this Wesleyan journey. I'm an alum. But here's how things have changed in the business world. Now, you already know this, but I'm telling you this because I want you to know that we know it. And we incorporate this into what we do at Kentucky Wesleyan. You already know, because we just showed you about, we believe in those principles of the Wesleyan way. Very critical. We believe in a faith-based education. We live it every day. These kids live it every day. But here's what we know about what you do. We know that the professional and the job markets have changed. It used to be that if you looked at your budgets and the budget said, we're going to hire 3 accountants this year, you trotted down to HR and you said, give me the resumes of people who are qualified to work as accountants here, and you hired 3 of them. That's the way it used to work. It doesn't work that way anymore, and I tell this to our students all the time, and we talk about it campus-wide all the time. Here's how it works now for you. You sit down with someone with that accounting degree or the engineering degree or that law degree, and you say, what is it unique about you? What's different about you that adds value to what we do here? If you see it, you'll hire that person. You don't care what the budget says. If you don't see it, you won't hire that person. You won't hire anybody until you do see it. But what does that have to do with higher education? Well, I'll tell you what it's got to do with it. It had to change everything about it. Education in college today has to be unique. Students cannot graduate from college anymore looking like they came off what I call the academic assembly line. They cannot come out looking, talking, thinking like everybody else around them. We've got to have unique added value. Every school does something better than somebody else. I think that's what we do best. And my personal example of that is this. How many of you Wesleyan folks here remember Professor Arthur Chesler? Yeah, you can raise your hand. I know what you're thinking. Professor Chesler taught business, economics, finance, statistics at Wesleyan. I took him 5 times. He hated me, and I think I hated him. I couldn't give a correct answer in his class. Where's Jeff Foreman? He was there. He knows. Maybe my answers were wrong. I don't know. But it got to where a lot of people didn't even want to sit with me in his class. Guilt by association. Well, when I graduated and I went on to law school at Louisville, I realized what had happened to me at Wesleyan. I realized that Professor Chesler had gotten me ready because those law professors, Judge Taylor, they didn't bother me as much as they seemed to bother some. I wasn't all that smart, but I was prepared. So when I came back to Wesleyan after I graduated, I came back to see Professor Chesler. I said, Professor Chesler, I'm here for 2 reasons. 1, I'm here to apologize to you. I want to apologize to you for all the horrible things I have hoped would happen to you. Very slowly. That's not the Wesleyan way, kids. It's not. And 2, I'm here to thank you. I'm here to thank you for what you did for me because you got me ready for what I wanted to do. And I'll never forget this because this sums up Wesleyan for me. In one statement from Professor Arthur Chesler, when he looked at me and smiled, I think, for the first time ever, and he said, I knew where you wanted to go. And I never forgot that because I realized then that Arthur Chesler, like many professors at Wesleyan who were committed to all of us then, and your professors are committed to you now, he had sacrificed a personal relationship with me in the short term so that I could realize my dreams, and I'm forever indebted to him and to Kentucky Wesleyan College. And I'm very honored and I'm very grateful to have the privilege to serve my college as its president, which is still incredible for me to believe. That's what I get to do every day. And I get to hang out with kids, like you heard this morning, every day. And it's fantastic. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way of this podium, and we're going to close with a very short video from our most recent homecoming that I would like to share with you. So thank you all for what you do for Owensboro and Davis County and for Kentucky Wesleyan College.
And now, with our monthly chamber update, our president and CEO, Candace Brake.
Good morning. Thanks to all the Wesleyan students who cheered to the cheer line this morning. It really felt good to go back and forth about 10 times every time I felt good blue lines. We have a lot of things happening this month. As you know, the election is next week. And tonight, we have the last forum for mayor and city commissioners. It's going to be at 5 o'clock, where the city commission candidates will start off. And then at 6, we'll have the mayoral candidates. It's going to be at Owensboro High School in the middle of town. We would love for everyone to come. We want to thank all the candidates for all their time, the candidates for House as well. You guys have really stepped up and have had such a grueling schedule, and on behalf of the community, thank you for stepping up and willing to serve all of us. So let's come tonight and thank them and be a part of it. Yes, Chad wants me to to point out that it's at the OHS Auditorium. We try to do things a little different over. It just gets better. Just hold on, folks. Next Tuesday, November the 8th, is Go Vote. We've been working on this throughout the year. We anticipate a very high voter turnout, but we want to remind you that Owensboro has to have a high voter turnout, in order for us to have a voice in Frankfort and a voice in D.C., our representatives and the people that are in office need to know that we are paying attention, that we want to be a part of the process, and that we care. So please encourage everyone you know to go to the polls and participate in this civic duty and the civic privilege. The CYP has a busy month this month. The luncheon meeting is going to be on November the 10th at Old National Bank Conference Room, which is on the Chamber of Commerce's 3rd floor. And then O.Z. Tyler is hosting a tour and happy hour on November the 17th at 5:30. And you can tell a young professional wrote this because I can't see the Beef O'Brady sign, and I've been trying to see it. But there's something from 11 to 10 p.m., 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Beef O'Brady's for young professionals. Guys, I know you can see it. Anybody under 35 can see that. So please come and be a part of it. We try every month to have a very, very busy schedule for you all. You're fantastic. We've got 145 CYP now, and thank you all for being a part of that. And you Wesleyan students, that's a great group to get involved in. If you're over 21, a lot of business contacts and a lot of ways to get involved in philanthropy in the community. Just a great way to make the transition from college to career. So I encourage all of you all to get to be a part of the CYP. The Business of the Year awards are coming up soon, and the nomination forms are going to be available on November the 9th. If you know of a small business or a large business, a nonprofit or educational institution that you feel deserves extra recognition this year, please nominate them. We'll be sending this out in the weekly email, and we would love to be able to get a lot of nominees. We're going to highlight them at our annual celebration, and we're doing something a little different this year for our winners. It's going to be really special and something that the award winners will be able to have for forever. So please come out and nominate your friends or yourself. November ribbon cuttings. We have a lot going on in November. Painting with a Twist is having their ribbon cutting today at 12:15. Tomorrow, Byron and Barclay is having their ribbon cutting at 12:15. Next week, Studio 105 is having their gallery opening. They have a new concept gallery, and that's going to be opening next week, Studio 105 at 5 p.m. And a lot of the artists will be there too, showing off their works. November the 11th, Epic Revival is going to have ribbon cutting at 12:15. And November the 16th at 12:15, Escape Today will have a ribbon cutting, and I'm sure that will be very interesting. At your place, at your Chamber Matters, you have Chamber Matters that talk about the renewals for the month. Go through there, look at the renewals. There's several of you here today that have renewed this month. And remember, make sure that you're doing business with other chamber members. We're almost 1,000 strong, and when we do business with one another, we grow the community, and we increase our voice in things like our advocacy efforts. It's really important, and every member matters in that. John Conti Coffee in the back, thank you all so much for brightening up every day. And you made the cheer line a lot of fun, too, after my second cup of coffee. Thank you, John Conti. Shop Owensboro is coming up on November the 26th. This year we have double the number of small businesses involved. I'm going to play a short video for that. And first of all, I just want to thank all of the boutique owners, the small business owners, the gift shop owners, everybody who participates in this. It's just a great way for us to celebrate our community and celebrate the people who give back to our community. It's a privilege for the chamber staff to get to work on that, and we're just so proud of the number of people in our community who have stepped up and taken a risk.
Oh, there's no blooper reel? Come on. By the way, Shop Owensboro is powered by Independence Bank, so thank you all so much for your sponsorship, and shop local on the 26th. All right, we have a very, very awesome and exciting featured speaker today, and introduce him to you once more from Kentucky Wesleyan College, your president, Bart Darrell.
Well, this is normally done by the chairman of the board of directors of the chamber, Adam Hancock, who, by the way, is a Wesleyan grad, but I guess was too busy to even show up today when we're sponsoring it, his alma mater. But I'm glad he's not here because I get the privilege of introducing my good friend Daymeon Fishback. I met Daymeon, I believe, Daymeon, when you were 17 years old at Greenwood High School in Bowling Green. And we actually had Daymeon, I was told about this great kid who's smart, all these great things about him. So we brought him into my law firm to be our co-op student. Daymeon lasted one day. Now, the truth is, he was getting put in another advanced placement class, which conflicted with his co-op time, but I like the story that, it was pretty tough. Daymeon Fishback is a special, special person. Daymeon graduated from Greenwood High School in 1996. Some of you basketball fans remember that Daymeon was named Mr. Basketball in Kentucky after he took Greenwood to the state tournament as well, I think your junior year. And Daymeon, stellar student as well as stellar athlete. He went on to Auburn to play basketball, where he also studied international business. He was the captain of the Auburn basketball team. They were ranked in the top 5, I think, and the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament while he was there. He graduated in 2000 with a degree in international business. And then after a professional basketball career that took him from the United States to France to Italy, I don't know where else you went, he came back and started his other professional career in the financial industry. He is with, he's been in Birmingham, Alabama for how long now, Daymeon? Too long, he said. He's glad to be back home. But Daymeon is a great example for our students of somebody who didn't sacrifice anything. He has taken all of his passions and all of his talents, and he's combined them into a very unique career. And the other part of his career is that Daymeon is on ESPN. You folks probably see him all winter long now as a basketball analyst for ESPN games and the SEC network. And he's, I'll say it, he's a rising star in sports television. So we are very honored to have Daymeon here today. And by the way, his father is here. Where is the Reverend Charles Fishback? Welcome, Reverend Fishback. We appreciate you. Now, the Reverend Fishback has been a friend of mine as well for many years, and I've looked up to him a lot. And then Daymeon told me today that he was coming because he had a good friend here he was meeting. That friend was Richard Brown. I thought a lot of you, Reverend Fishback, for many years, sir. But we're glad you're here. But it is my privilege to introduce to you your Rooster Booster speaker, my friend, and I promise you now yours, Mr. Daymeon Fishback.
Be honest, what y'all think about that introduction? Was it okay? You know, Bart's been introducing people all morning, everybody's standing up. I thought it was decent, Bart, but we need to talk a little bit afterwards. Listen, I am so excited to be here this morning. 3 microphones up here, trying to decide which one to use. Hello. I'm so excited to be here this morning. I don't know if I turned it off. There we go. We got action. So, you know, I told Bart that I was going to start out by asking all the Trump supporters to stand to the right, all the Clinton supporters to stand to the left, and he didn't think that would be a good idea. We got a lot of elected officials here this morning, so I don't think we want to talk about tax returns or emails or anything like that. So I do want to make sure that we give our elected officials a round of applause. Go vote for them because they came to listen to me speak this morning. If I was in Kentucky, you'd have my vote. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly tell you kind of my Google Maps, right? Bart told you what I do as far as being a financial advisor. He told you what I do as far as ESPN. I'd like to tell you how I got there. So he mentioned my father, who is, matter of fact, stand up again real quick. Do you all think he looks like me at all? That's where it really got started. You can tell from my father, Charles Fishback. My father is a pastor, and you know, Bart said that I didn't sacrifice anything. Well, I maybe sacrificed a little. I'm not married yet, and my father reminds me of that. Every altar call at church, I kid you not, he prays for the good Lord to send me a wife. I appreciate that, Pop. She's coming. She's coming. Take your time. But seriously, every time. But faith is certainly a huge part of my life, and I'll get to more of that a little bit later. But you know, he talked about me going to Auburn. Before I got to Auburn, before I even got to Greenwood, it's interesting. You know, Bart talked about me going to his law office. He didn't know that I was looking forward to that, because when I grew up, do we have anybody here who's had any experience doing any kind of farm work? Okay, good. I got some tough people in this audience. So before I did that, I actually grew up setting, chopping, and housing tobacco. Do I look like that kind of person? right? Thank you for the round of applause. Anybody who's done some farm work can appreciate that. So I grew up housing it, chopping it. I was that tall, skinny guy. So if you can imagine me with some sweatpants and a t-shirt, straddled like this in the top of a barn, reaching down on tiers about 20 feet up, that's how I got started. That's my work ethic. That's how I began to learn work ethic. So once I was doing my farming, began to play a little hoops. It's funny, he introduced me to a guy named Dale Carrier when I was extremely young. Dale Carrier, a big-time professional athlete in the ABA. Well, my mom and dad would go to work, and how I got started for you college students is I would ride my bike, maybe 5 or 10 miles. This isn't safe, so I wouldn't recommend it, but I would actually ride my bike with one hand and be bouncing the ball with the other, working on my ball handling, getting up shots day after day after day. Well, briefly after that, I was in about the 7th or 8th grade. And I don't know how many of you all have moved, but for me, I was in the 8th grade, and my father, who says it was my decision — how many decisions do we make as kids in the 8th grade? But he said my father was, or my mother was a teacher, so I had the ability to go to another school. So you can imagine, 8th grade, you got all your friends there with you, and you now decide to go to another school that's 20 minutes away. Well, I decided to make that decision. So I transferred from Warren East Middle School to Greenwood High School. And the reason for that was because we thought that I needed to play the guard position, and at Warren East I was going to be a 6'5" center, probably not playing at Auburn, versus a point guard that had the ability to go and receive Mr. Basketball. Huge sacrifice, huge move that paid off. Well, after that, I get to Auburn University. And do we have any Kentucky — I know I'm not supposed to ask this, but I'd like to know my audience. Do we have any Kentucky fans in here? Sorry about that, Bart. Bart told me that, but he also reminded me that there are 16 championships between Kentucky Wesleyan and Kentucky. So Kentucky Wesleyan, give yourself a nice round of applause. Rich tradition here, hoops fans. So anyways, when I was coming up, I was looking towards Kentucky. Rick Pitino was there. We all have our opinions on Rick right now, but so Rick Pitino was there. He was recruiting me at the time, and I ended up choosing Auburn. And one of the reasons that I chose Auburn was because my father actually played for the coach who was coaching there, Coach Cliff Ellis at the time. And the reason I bring that up is because a tremendous amount of my success has been based on two things: relationships, which I think are priceless, and capitalizing on my own opportunities. And when I say relationships, who would have known my father, who played for Coach Cliff Ellis, who to this day, they both told me, Coach Cliff Ellis tells me that he promised my father that I would always have a place to play. And my father kind of says he promised Coach Ellis that he would give him a shot at me, which is what happened. So I go to Auburn, have a decent career there, and after I finish at Auburn, we go from not making it to the NCAA tournament or even the NIT to being the #1 ranked team and the #1 overall seed. Now, college isn't easy, and for a lot of you students here this morning, I'm sure you're finding that out. First of all, I appreciate you coming. I mean, with class and everything else, to get up at 7:30 in the morning was hard for me, especially after, shall we say, the Indians had a rough night last night. Sorry about that, Bart. But so one thing that I like to tell college students as a person of faith that I try to do, and I would recommend that not only college students, but that all people try to do this. As an athlete, you learn to work out, right? You diet, you eat right. You make sure you go to the gym, most of us. You try to do your cardio. Well, I try to do that same thing spiritually for me. For me, I do what's called the 5, 5, and 5. I have to have at least 5 minutes of gospel music every morning. I have to have at least 5 minutes of prayer and meditation. And I have to have at least 5 minutes of reading the Word. And I calculated that with 1,440 minutes in a day, That's actually giving less than 1% of your time to God. So that's something that I want you to take home with you, especially in college, to keep you on your Google Maps to make sure you get to your destination. So after I'm at Auburn, that's when the fun started. So I'm actually at the Miami Heat camp, and the last day of training camp, I actually fractured my ankle. So that's when adversity hits you. They say that success is often around the corner of what seems as temporary defeat, and that was the case for me. After I hurt my ankle, even though I was still drafted, I had to play in the NBA Development League instead of playing in the NBA. After that, I go overseas to Yugoslavia. Anybody here ever been to Yugoslavia? That's what I thought. Oh, we got one person. Okay. So Yugoslavia was an interesting country. Yugoslavia at the time was so impoverished that they actually, at least once a week, would turn the electricity off for the entire city from 3:30 in the afternoon until basically 7:30 the next day. Pitch black. I mean, you talk about a guy just sitting at home, looking up, no TV, not able to understand the language. One of the most challenging times of my life, but it actually was one of the better times that I got to grow. I had a chance to read a lot of different materials. I had the candlelight up. I had a chance to get stronger. And when I was over in Yugoslavia, again, telling you how relationships work, there was a guy by the name of Shea Cotton who played for Alabama. Now, I know we have one Auburn fan in here at least. Have any other Auburn fans here? Woo! Woo! Nice to know where I'm at. I thought I'd get one clap. Well, hold on. How about this? And this is where I really know where I stand. Do we have any Alabama fans in here? Oh, my goodness. Can I stay? You got a pretty good football team again. I actually have a lot of Alabama clients. So anyways, the guy was an Alabama fan, or he played at Alabama, but this is how relationships work. We get over there. He's playing for Partizan, which was our rival team there, and I'm playing for Red Star. And we hung out for a little bit, and we kind of looked at each other. We were going to be over there for 8 months, and we just said, listen, I know you play for Alabama and I play for Auburn, but let's stick together. We're all we got over here. And so another tremendous relationship that I actually acquired, not expecting for that to happen. So after I actually finished playing, tore my knee the second time after the scout from the Spurs had come over. I thought I was about to go play for San Antonio. So after that, I ended up getting hurt again. So now, like many college athletes, you're kind of in that gray area when you finish. And one thing I want to say, especially for the college students here, all of these people, these individuals here, business owners, people in the business community, make sure you shake their hands. Make sure you introduce yourselves. Make sure you let them know exactly what you're doing and plant those seeds earlier, because these individuals surrounding you, speaking about capitalizing on opportunities, are the people that are going to hire you. They're your next opportunity, so make sure you do that. So once I'm overseas, I come back, I have the knee injury, and I'm kind of contemplating what I should do. Well, I decided that even though when I was in elementary school, I got all A's and I always used to get C's and D's in conduct, that I was always pretty good at speaking. So I started my first game with Dick Vitale and Brad Nessler, keeping statistics, and they paid me a whopping $75 for that game. Well, after that, I said, you know what, this is pretty cool. I get paid to watch basketball. But at the same time, I also knew that as an athlete, I got my degree in international business with a concentration in finance and Spanish, and I knew that I had an opportunity to do something more. So going back to my relationships, we had a director of ops. His name was Jacob Ridenhour, and he was an individual that I felt like always played to the best guys on the team. We had 8 guys on my college team to go play in the NBA. That's what happens when you're number 1 in the country. And I remember one time I got extremely mad because all of my other teammates got Jordans, the guys kind of the All-Americans, and I got normal shoes. And I let that really eat me up, believe it or not, for a long time. It was an ego booster. I felt like he said those guys were better than me. Well, not only was he the guy that ended up being my best friend, but Jacob Ridenhour was the guy who called me and said, hey, Merrill Lynch is looking for somebody, and I think you're the guy. Relationships. So I ended up going to Merrill Lynch, was there for about 9.5 years, using that degree that I had at Merrill Lynch, and then ended up going to Morgan Stanley, where I am now. You combine that with the fact that I started out with Dick Vitale and Brad Nessler, and now I'm spinning 2 plates. Part-time at Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor, part-time with ESPN. Well, this is how relationships work. So when I went back, Coach Cliff Ellis, a guy who coached my father that we talked about, was actually the guy who got unjustly fired at Auburn. Well, he ends up going into commentating with television. And guess who helped me get my first job? This guy who's got a face for radio. Guess who helped me get my first job on television? Coach Cliff Ellis. The power of relationships. He made a call to Fox Sports South, and I remember my first game. It was actually a women's game. It was the worst game I've ever done. If you've never commentated before, you don't know how difficult it is. So it's my first game. I'm already nervous. My palms are sweaty a little bit. And we don't just have all this information memorized. We do have to do a little research, So I got my information memorized, and there's 2 cameras. And when we practiced, there was only 1 camera. They told me, they said, just imagine you're talking to 2 people. So my play-by-play guy's to my right, the camera's there. That's easy, right? I just look back and forth. Well, this Tennessee game, it was 2 cameras. So I just froze. I have the microphone, and I'm not cross-eyed. You can see that now. But I just kind of spoke and looked at both cameras at the same time. And so everybody there just laughed, exactly just how you did. Well, to make it even worse, I start to do the game, and my headset's not working. So these are things that you all can't see on TV that we're dealing with. So my headset's not working. Well, you would think my play-by-play guy is my teammate. Well, he's actually knows that my headset's not working, so no one can hear me, and he's asking me questions. He's saying, what a play, Daymeon. What would you do in that position? So everybody's texting me during the game asking me if I'm freezing up, if I'm just getting nervous. Finally, they give me a microphone, so I have to do my first game actually listening with the headphones and talking on a microphone for my first game. My first experience, lots of fun. So finally, I make it. I continue to progress. So I'm doing things with ESPN and Morgan Stanley now, and the 2 work tremendously together. For me, a lot of my clients at Morgan Stanley are professional athletes. And I know that most of you are probably familiar that 68% of professional athletes are either bankrupt or broke within 2 years of them finishing from their professional sport. That's why I got into the industry. I'm passionate about it. And I've had, obviously for confidentiality purposes, I won't tell you who my clients are, but I've got a ton of clients, and it's been the best experience of my life, the ability to help educate former athletes who come from challenging backgrounds that most of the time go from not being able to go buy a Whopper at Burger King to having the ability to buy 14, 15 Burger King franchises if they wanted to. It's a huge paradigm shift for them. So that's why I got into the business at Morgan Stanley. On the ESPN side, I've always enjoyed talking. I've always enjoyed talking to people, talking about the games. Most importantly, from an ESPN perspective, though, I would say this. Take it easy on us analysts, Matter of fact, I got a question. How many of you have disliked an analyst or the play-by-play guy so bad that you actually mute your TV? We don't have much of a future, do we? That's what we try to do. We try to stay out of the way of the game. But the key is, with ESPN now, we're fighting for our lives. You know, do we have a lot of social media fans in here? I know my dad, I don't think he's on social media yet. Just had a birthday a couple of days ago. You got to get on social media, Pops. But social media has changed the entire game. Believe it or not, I'm fighting, I have an old soul. So I'm actually trying the opposite approach. See, most of you all probably didn't know about me before you came today. A little bit, but not as much as you know now, right? So I figured my strategy is the only way I can get you to listen to me speak, and the only way I can get you to watch me on TV is if I don't have a cell phone doing this all the time. The only way you find out about me is you got to see me in person. And that strategy's working. So I will say this, though. It's changing the game. Television now has been looked at as, well, we're looked at as dinosaurs if you watch television. As far as young people, if you had to give up your cell phone or your TV, which one would you give up? All day, your television. So you've got Facebook, you've got social media, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat. It's a no-brainer. So that's the same reason why I always talk to individuals about the 5, 5, and 5. Because for me, whether you want to or not, you're getting negative things put into your mind via social media. When you wake up in the morning, 9 times out of 10, I'm assuming most college individuals pull up that Snapchat. They pull up that Facebook. So you have to make sure you do something to overcompensate that as well. Now, long story short, 38 years old, be 39 in February, okay? I'm very passionate about different current events, and I will say this. I'm going to tell you a quick story. First of all, before I tell this story, I want to make sure people know where I stand. There's a lot of conversation about Colin Kaepernick, what he's doing. For me personally, I think that we live in the best country in America, bar none. And so, and when you've traveled, as Bart said, to France, to Serbia, you know, to Yugoslavia, to Italy, you realize that. You don't take it for granted. I think he probably, a mentor or someone should have educated him on a different way to go about it. But I will say this, and it's very important. The differences for individuals, depending on different demographics, is real, okay? It's real. The key is, though, I tell everyone, I agree there has to be law and order, period. There has to be law and order. But there also has to be respect and love universally for everybody. And it's funny, I was in a situation to where I didn't understand what people were complaining about as much myself until I experienced it personally. So I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm close friends with the mayor of Hoover, very close friends. And he still doesn't know this story today, so let's keep it between us. But I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm driving. I drive a Cadillac Escalade. I'm driving my truck, and I'm going 60 miles an hour. At 60 miles an hour, I have an officer that pulls up behind me. So if you're going 60, which is the speed limit, and the cop pulls up behind you, what are you going to do? You're going to stay at 60 miles an hour, right? You don't want to get pulled over. Well, so I stay at 60. He turns his lights on. Well, of course, I'm looking at the speedometer. I'm saying, no way, it's me. I stayed at 60. So I hit my signal light. I go over one lane. Well, he comes over too. So I'm thinking, well, I'm sure he's going after somebody else. 6-lane highway, I get over again. Well, he gets over again too. So I said, well, maybe it's me for some reason. So I have to pull over 3 more lanes, and I finally get off to the side of the road. Now, this is what happens. Immediately, he jumps to the side of my car, and he hollers. He hollers. What do you do when someone pulls up behind you in the left lane? Now, at this time, intelligent. My dad was a probation parole officer. So I have my ID, my insurance, and my registration. And I said, I don't know, officer. And he hollered again, what do you do when someone pulls behind you in the left lane? Well, at this time, he has his hand here, and there's another officer that's pulled up in that time with his hand on his holster that I see in my rearview mirror. I said, officer, I don't know. He said, well, first of all, you pulled over 5-6 lanes and almost got us hit by the 18-wheeler. What are you doing? I said, officer, I apologize. I would never do anything to get yourself or myself hurt. And at that time, he relaxed. He said, well, just be careful. If someone pulls up behind you, you're supposed to move if you're in the faster lane to let them go by. And then if we pull you over, don't go so fast. Thank you very much and have a good day. Now, that's my story. That story could have went a different way. It could have changed, okay? It could have changed. Not everyone was brought up by a dual family household. Not everyone has a father that's a pastor and a probation parole officer and a mother who is a special education teacher, okay? Not everyone was taught to pull out their information. What I'm saying and trying to get across with that story is, and our pastor at my Bible study yesterday talked about being an adult Christian. What I'm saying is that we have to become more mature as a human people, right? We are at a point to where race, demographics, to me, I don't see that. I see warm hospitality that I've been displayed. I've been in the South, but I've seen more hospitality here this morning than I've seen anywhere in the South. A tremendous group of people. And so the only way that we continue to improve and go past this is the conversation, is the dialogue, is being mature and seeing each other for what we are. We're just humans. And the bottom line is, we want to get away from faith, we want to get away from God in this country, but the bottom line is there is no black and white. There is no Latin, no women, no males, no Asians. The bottom line is there's good and there's evil. And that comes in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And we need to remember that. Okay? Thank you. Last but not least, Bart, tells me that, Bart tells me he's one of the best shooters of all time. Anybody here see him play? Was he that good? Could he, listen. He's your boss, right? Listen, Bart and I have been friends for a long time. He had me inducted in the Warren County Hall of Fame. I didn't even have to write him a check. But listen, let me tell you something. You all should be so appreciative and thankful to have him at Kentucky Wesleyan, at this community. You talk about a guy who this morning when he came and got me at 6:30, bright and early, could not stop talking about how much he loved the university, how much he loved the students, how much he loved this community here. And, he told me the story of how he got here. And I know it was after he lost his mom. And I think what he has done is put every bit, every ounce of strength and energy that he has into this university and into this community. And I think he deserves a warm round of applause for doing that. Now, I'm not going to hold you long because I was talking to my dad before. He said he had to leave to go to a meeting, and I said, Pops, can you at least wait till I finish speaking? Because if you leave, I know that the speech is going south. So I appreciate him staying. But one thing that I like to do is, before I sit down, because you all the ones that paid to see, I like to open it up real quick just to get a few questions from the audience, because I do spin a couple of plates, and it is extremely interesting when you're looking at the stock market this morning on CNBC and how in the world Facebook is down when they beat on the top line and bottom line earnings, and they're down $5 or $6, I don't know. But then I'm going to look and get ready for my Kentucky game I got this Sunday. So I'd like to open it up for questions before I sit down real quick. Yes, ma'am. I do. One of the things that the question was, do I speak at schools, and how do you get a hold of me? Which is very challenging. But I would say that Bart has my information. I do speak to a ton of schools. I also have an agent, Ellen Beckwith, who he had some fun dealing with, but getting me here. But yes, I definitely speak to schools. I love speaking to young people in particular. And this is a, shall I say, young group here this morning, right? But yeah, so just reach out to Bart. And also, I am on LinkedIn. That is the one service or social media service that I have that has my information, where you can just reach out via email. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Sure. The question was, who is the best person as far as play-by-play that I've worked with in my ESPN broadcast, or who is the best prepared? That's a tough question, but I have the most fun. I don't know how many of you are familiar with, but I've had the most fun with a gentleman by the name of Daymeon. Daymeon's a close guy. He's prepared. He has a lot of fun. And most important, just like a point guard, he makes me look good. Next question. What was your question? None that I can tell. The question was, are there any funny stories with myself and Charles Barkley? Wow. Ton of fun stories. I'm trying to think of one that would be fitting. We will just say that, well, one thing, they gave me a tremendous care basket when I checked into my hotel. Candace, thank you very much for my care basket. And it's interesting. I knew I was back home in Kentucky because it had a big bottle of bourbon in the middle. I said, okay, I'm home sweet home. When you go with Charles, my suggestion would be, do not intake any alcoholic beverages. How about that? Matter of fact, he said that there was one guy who could drink him under the table, and he's a very well-known basketball player. Who do you think it was? Any guesses? I heard of Shaquille O'Neal. Who said that? Larry Bird. Indiana. Yep, Indiana's finest. All right. Do I think Kentucky will beat Georgia this weekend? Well, now listen, let me, I am a basketball analyst, but I'll give my 2 cents. My 2 cents is that I do feel like this is Kentucky's year. I really do. I think Coach Stoops is doing a tremendous job, and I think that as good of a coach as Kirby Smart at Georgia has the potential to be, I think that there is a tremendous, just a prodigious amount of characteristics and chemistry that has to be formed that he hasn't been able to do yet. So I actually like the Wildcats in this game. Woo! Bruce Pearl and Charles like to hang out together. They have a lot of fun together. Coach Bruce Pearl is he's the right man for the job. You know, Coach Bruce Pearl, I told ESPN that I think they need to start doing a story now, right now. This year there was a 19th ranked recruiting class at Auburn. They hadn't seen those like since we were there. Next year they have a predicted #1 recruiting class in the country, which we all know that probably won't last. We know that team over there in Lexington gets the #1 or 2 recruiting class every year. But he's getting it done the right way. I think he has a genuine concern and regret for what happened at Tennessee, and I think that he actually wants to stay at Auburn for a long time. I think he'll get it done. I'm going to make sure I tell him that, too. I'll make sure I tell him that. Couple more. It's awesome, baby. Dickie V's he's a good guy. He's a good guy. When I was there, you know, he actually remembered me from the Kentucky game. He said, "I know who you are. You had a Kentucky game. Tayshaun Prince, you fouled him, though." It was the only time we beat Kentucky. What you see on TV is what you get in reality. Tremendous guy. Listen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you coming out. Had a blast this morning.
Daymeon, Fishback, everybody. All right, before we adjourn this morning, obviously the month of November, huge month of thanks. It's so hard to believe that literally 2 weeks from Saturday, we'll have the Owensboro Davis County Christmas Parade. 3 weeks from today is Thanksgiving. It doesn't even seem real. But this morning, we want to pay and say thanks because we have so many things in this community, of course, to be thankful for. Obviously, great local business. We have an amazing music series in downtown Owensboro Friday after 5 that entertains us all from May to September. The 20th anniversary season wrap this year. A round of applause for those folks. We have great nonprofits in this town who work tirelessly to make the lives of others better. And we have folks who work tirelessly for those nonprofits so they can do that. We're going to bring up the Kentucky Wesleyan Panther because we have a very special check presentation. Come on up, Panther. Y'all give him a round of applause. The check's right over there. So, mentioned Friday after 5. So welcome up Kirkpatrick from Friday after 5. Also, a very special guest with us, Richard Thompson from the Owensboro Twisters, who are out there every Friday night making balloon animals for the kiddos and some adults. And, of course, they basically work for free. They just accept donations. And because of donations raised this year, we have a very special check presentation. And we want to bring up Leah Taylor, Executive Director for the Boulware Center. Give Leah a round of applause. Oh, she's here. Hey. Where did she come from? But this morning, we have a check from the Owensboro Twisters to the Boulware Center in the amount of $1,000. You do have to give it. And real quick, a round of applause for the mascot who has been such a ball of energy and inspiration and fire this morning. Come on up. Now, we're going to break the Walt Disney rule, right, where mascots can never, ever reveal their true identity. But this morning, we're going to make an exception and show you that our Panther is none other than Adam Hancock, who may be the most fun accountant in the history of the world.
Bart, you owe me.
Thank you all so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and on Tuesday, go vote, people. Thank you so much.
Wearing 45 pounds of gear, climbing 35 feet above the ground, they work for you. Kenergy's 50 linemen maintain 7,400 miles of power line across 14 counties. It amounts to one thing: you have friends in high places. Kenergy, member-owned, service-driven.